The views expressed herein are the host's sole opinions and do not reflect the views of Real Pixel as a whole. This man is a drunk degenerate and has no business being on a review show. I'm Jack McGuff, movie buff, here to talk library stuff with this week's review of The Dark Tower. I'm Jack McGuff, movie buff, here to talk library stuff with our review of The Dark Tower. And because I don't do much reading, I had to call in an expert who does read.
I read books good.
Man, I got bad news, folks. This movie sucked. But maybe it was just me. Maybe because I don't read, I didn't get it. So we got Brent here to help us navigate our way through what the movie should have been based on the book and what we got. And we're going to find out if I just suck at reviewing movies. I don't. Or if this movie just sucked at being a book movie. It does.
So for people who don't know, The Dark Tower is actually a series of books written by Stephen King, considered his magnum opus of books.
I got a magnum opus.
7 books in total with an additive afterwards. So technically 8 books on the main series, but they actually connect all of Stephen King's work.
Wait, additive? Aren't you supposed to put the additive in before?
It includes all of Stephen King's works, including big characters from books like Salem's Lot, The Stand, and other books of his that are more well-known probably than the Dark Tower series.
I've never read any of them.
So, looking at this movie, if you want, you can look at it in 2 schools of thought. One, is it an adaptation of the book series of The Dark Tower? Or, spoiler alert for the book series, at the end of the book you realize that Roland...
Wait, what if I read the book?
You're not going to read the book. Roland is stuck in continuous loop and how he always has to chase after the man in black who's trying to bring down the Dark Tower. So this could be a continuation of the book series. So with those 2 schools of thought, we can look at either one and see which one actually fits better with this movie because they never really come out right and say it in the movie, so you don't know.
Only I got from this movie was that Idris Elba is Roland, and he's a gunslinger, or a knight, or some shit, and he shoots guns. And he's the only one left because they all suck at their jobs, I guess, besides him. And then Matthew McConaughey wants to get a little boy who's got shine. And enough shine to blow up the Dark Tower. Boom! They spend 90 minutes resolving that plot. Oh, man. I can tell this is a movie with a ton of lore behind it that they clearly wanted to try to explore, but they just name drop some shit and figure that people are going to be like, oh, yeah, gunslinger. Yeah, cool. Nope, no clue. Dark Tower. Nope, no clue. Crimson King. I got no clue. So Brent enlightened us on this Crimson King.
So the Crimson King is actually the guy Walter Paddock works for, the man in black works for.
Wait, he's not even the bad guy?
He's not really the bad guy.
Oh,
So in movie form, Walter Paddock, or the man in black, wants to bring down the Dark Tower. In book form, he works for the Crimson King who wants to take down the Dark Tower, and it's actually revealed later in the books that the man in black doesn't actually want to bring down the tower, but get to the top and become a god himself.
Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to think maybe they shouldn't have tried to do 7 books in one movie. Seems like a bad idea. I mean, they took The Hobbit and made 3 movies out of 1 book. I mean, please don't do that with The Dark Tower. We don't need 21 Dark Tower movies.
We need 21 Dark Tower movies.
We didn't need the one you gave us, so if you're doing 21, you better start over and talk or do a movie about the he's talking about and not the that I saw, because, man.
If you want to look at this movie as the 7 books in one movie,
yeah, I do.
It's barely even 1 full book. So if you had to look at it as an adaptation of the storyline Stephen King laid out, the first 2 books are completely skipped. You start somewhere in the middle of 3 with Jake Chambers inside of his own world after he's already been to Midworld 1 time and Roland let him die in chase of the man in black in the first book. So we start there with Jake Chambers trying to get back to Midworld having dreams. When he goes through the house and gets drawn into Midworld, that's about midway through the 3rd book. And they completely cut out all characters and everything that happens in the first 2 books.
All right, what about if it was like a continuation of these 7 books and this was the 8th book movie.
So if you take a school of thought where this is actually another loop or another continuity that Roland is being pushed through to chase the Man in Black to save the Dark Tower, it could kind of be there because they did do advertisements for it where they showed the Horn of Gilead, which is a horn that was lost at Jericho Hill that that Roland's friend had, which at the end of the Dark Tower, the 7th book, he goes back and starts where the first book started the whole series off. He actually ends the book where he started, but he's got that horn. So it leaves the reader with a chance.
Game changer, fucking horn.
It leaves the reader with this hope that this continuity could be different. And so this part, they had advertisements with the horn and said the last time they showed the horn in a satchel of Roland's at parts. You could see it on his back at certain points. If it was that horn or just another horn, we don't know because they never talk about it. So it could be a continuation of the story, and if so, a lot of the plot points and stuff that they missed from the books don't really matter. However, they never say that, and you never know that anything about it, so it's kind of left up to just interpretation about it.
Yeah, I feel like this movie could have done so much for itself if it just established its own identity. It really was just trying to be too many things at once and ended up just being nothing overall.
And Matthew McConaughey shot bullets with his fingers, which was dumb.
Yeah, that was weird, like... Magic bullet.
It was dumb.
All right.
And at the end of the story, it is explained that Roland forgets every time he's been through the Dark Tower.
It'd be convenient to know.
It could have been played that way. However, for an audience member who hasn't read the books or doesn't know that option, there's no way to know if this is actually an adaptation or a continuation of the story.
Yeah. What you described sounds like The Matrix meets The Lord of the Rings, and what we got was... All right, now it's time for the most important part of our review, the score. Spoiler alert, it's not going to be good. Overall, I thought The Dark Tower was basically a paint-by-numbers action movie that lacked the character that it clearly had the potential to be as a movie because it just didn't really use the characters that they had. Still enjoyed it for what it was as far as some of the action moments, but it was pretty much a letdown for Jack McGuff.
And I thought as a fan of the books, it lost everything that the books had going for it with the spaghetti western feel. The actors actually did pretty well with the poor lines they had to spit out. But even when I could jump out of a reader's head and try to watch the movie, I overall thought it was boring.
So based on me only kind of sort of liking it and Brent pretty much hating it, we're giving this movie 2.5. I don't know how to do a half with my finger. 2.5. That doesn't make any sense. 2.5 Buff Muffs out of 5. Well, that about does it for this week's episode of Jack McGuff Movie Buff. Hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you haven't already, make sure you click down below to subscribe to the Real Pixel channel. Brent is a member of the Real Pussies Real Pixel. I knew what it was. Anyway, Brent's part of the streaming crew.
Yeah.
Tell them about it.
Yeah, if you want to check it out, it's on twitch.tv/realpixel. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we play a variety of different games, ranging from puzzles to full-on adventure games, first-person shooters, all over the place. We also do a podcast called the Real Pixel Podcast, found on Soundcloud and on iTunes. So head on over there, give us a like, see what we're all about. I do more than read, so I talk every now and again too.
Although I don't know if we should lead with puzzles unless you're trying to get 80-year-old women to subscribe. But puzzles are cool too. That about does it for this week's episode, folks. For Jack McGuff Movie Buff, for Brent LaDuff Book Buff, hope you enjoyed this week's episode. We'll catch you later.
I'm going to go read.
And I'm going to go drink.
I read books good.
I don't know how to follow that.